I say all this with love because I know everything my dad did. He did because he loved us and he thought, he did the best he could with what he knew at the time.
Yeah.
He knew what he came from and he knew he didn't want that lifestyle. And there's a whole thing with, my family on that side too. It's kind of wild. And so I knew he was trying to not make the same, mistakes and like, do better for his kids type thing and whatever else. But inevitably, the pendulum always swings. It never can go back to the middle. It's always like up here and then it's like whoosh all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum. And so that's kind of what happened. But I was raised in that, and you don't know any better. And so naturally you have these questions growing up, as any child would, as you start to come in contact with the first notion of death, when you come into contact with what happens next and start to really ponder those things. Which can be terrifying and scary as a kid when you really start, I think, unpacking the notion of death and
for sure
the afterlife. And then when you're told that, well, there's a heaven and a hell, and if you don't, believe in this and you're not saved, then you're going to be spending eternity, which is a concept you can't grasp. And even now we can't grasp, as much as we try to, in torture and torment.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also purgatory. So there's now 3 places you could.
Well, that's Catholicism. That's not even in Christianity. They don't believe in purgatory. That's just Catholicism.
Is that only so? None of the different sects of Christianity have a purgatory.
I don't. Maybe I don't think so. By and large, like anything from Martin Luther, like the whole breaking away from like that. That's all. There's no penance, there's no Mother Mary, there's no like there's no all these other conduits to get to God other than like Jesus. That would be. And so having that, the only thing I guess it kind of gave me as a child was this illusion of perhaps peace about knowing where I'd be going when I died because of what I believed. But even then, because of the whole idea of sin and the idea of all of this stuff, is that like I never thought, even though like, oh, I'm saved. Well, was I saved correctly? Did I really mean it? Well, what if I like there's all these questions about like the guilt, the Catholic guilt, the Christian guilt. I mean, they say Jewish guilt. They say all these religions have the guilt to it, like because of your sin and the things you do. Having those, those questions that I can never really reconcile made it difficult for me within my faith growing up because I never felt secure in it. And I also, because of like the really authoritative stance like my dad had, and I would also, my education, which I might have told you before, is the most fucked up story ever. Like it's amazing I accomplished whatever I did in life because of how my schooling went. But because I was in and out of a private school before I got expelled, and kind of the iron rod that my dad ruled with, I had a real problem with authority. So did my brother, so did my sister, and we challenged authority constantly. And so because of that, I rebelled a lot. And within that rebellion, then added even more to the guilt of, like, oh, well, I'm sinning and I'm doing all this stuff.
So that's interesting though, because all 3 of you have a need to rebel against authority. So I kind of feel like your dad's got to kind of take credit for that. I mean, if it was just one of you or 2 of you,
it stems from that for sure. There's definitely, but I'm also grateful for it in the sense because most kids won't have the cojones to, especially to a dad like, mine growing up, like he's a scary man, to stand up and like, and actually rebel and take those licks and be willing to, question things.
Right.
Where this is the problem with the world we live in now. Nobody's questioning anything. People are sheep. They're just going blindly to whatever the authority tells them. No, there's one. No, there's one younger than me.
So your sister's younger and your brother's older. So you're the middle?
No, I have a younger brother too.
Oh, there's 4 of you?
4 of us. Yeah.
Oh God, I always thought it was just the 3 of you, your sister and your older brother.
Yeah, no, he doesn't come down as much.
Okay.
We're close, but he just doesn't make the trip as much as they do.
That's fine. All right, fair enough. Is he also rebellious in the same way, or do you think your father changed some of his tactics by the time he came around?
No, to quote a hilarious Bible story. You know it. It's Old Testament. It's Joseph in his coat of many colors. I don't know how familiar you are with Judaism.
Color.
Yeah, the technicolor. Yeah. So we called him Joseph because he was the favorite child, and he was the youngest. And so, you know, we always use the analogy that, you know, is Amazon rainforest was what we were born into. And my brother went through with a machete, chopping down, you know, the brush. My sister bulldozed it. I paved it, and Nick rode on it with, like, you know, a Ferrari and enjoyed life. And so he was very smothered by my mom. Like he had like a speech impediment and like a slight learning disability when he was a child. So it made it, you know, not that it was anything he couldn't overcome, and obviously he did, but that, you know, led to him, I think, being pampered and babied more, which then made us resent him because we were always in trouble and whatnot. And, or at least me anyway, like at a young age. And, he had it.
Go ahead, finish that thought.
He just had it a lot easier than we did. That was all.
So I'm curious though, you know, obviously now, you know, as an adult, you know, I know you well enough that you're pretty intentional with what you're doing, and you make decisions, you know, one way or the other. So when you were that age, rebelling in, like, you know, teenage years, were you consciously rebelling, or was it like when you got in trouble, or when you were questioning things, or when you're talking back to your father, did you see the injustice and you were like, I can't handle this, I can't stand for this, I have to say something? Or was it more of an instinctual element, you know, from just the upbringing and the survival, you know, what it took to survive in your family kind of thing?
You know, it's a good question. I don't know how in tune I was back then to really put that together, but I do, you know, remember glimpses of things feeling unjust to me.
Yeah.
And that would be my plea, you know, as I would be rebelling, to no avail, because it didn't matter. It was like, do what I say, type of thing. And so that was like part of it. But I think also, you know, some of it was me wanting to fit in with my older brother and older sister, you know, who, you know, old brother is 4 years older than me. My sister was 3 years older than me. And I hung out with them and their friends, you know, which is why I started smoking weed and drinking when I was 10, because I was hanging out with them and wanting to, like, you know, fit in. And so I guess to get back, I guess, kind of to the initial question, because there's so much in my childhood that happened that really molded who I am today. And I'm sure, because, you know, you know me well, that a lot of it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But the religion thing kind of was funny because I really rebelled against it. I didn't like going to church. I didn't like any of that stuff as a child. It really wasn't until late high school and college, actually, that I really kind of found my faith, if you will, where I kind of stepped into it as an adult. And
why though? I mean, what, you know, and part of this comes from me knowing you, and part of this is also the reason why I'm curious is because I feel like so many people go through their life. I mean, I told a friend of mine, he's a writer, you know, he's a TV writer or whatever. I think you might know him, Roger. I told him, I was like, we should do a documentary on the fact that every single person on earth has been brainwashed by their family and their community, whether they like it or not. They want more? Check out this clip or the full episode. And don't forget to leave a comment. If you want more conversations and clips, check out our channel. Thanks for listening. See you next time.